Yeah, last time I saw you was at De Montfort Hall in Leicester about 5 years ago when you were supporting Howard Jones. Um,
Oh, right, right.
I
Okay.
went there with my son was 9 years old at the time, and we got there a bit late. So as you can imagine, Gary took the piss out of me relentlessly. So that was quite funny,
Yeah,
really.
that's on the not to do list. Don't go in late.
And it's funny because my son still remembers it to this day. He's 14 now. And this morning I said to him, "Oh, I'm interviewing Eddie from China Crisis today." And then he said to me, "Are they the ones that took the piss out of you?"
See, all the good things you've done in life, and that's what you'll be
I
remembered
know.
for.
But I mean, being from where you're from, banter's a huge part of your life. I'm guessing. I've worked with lots of Scousers before and everything. I know how much banter you have to give and
Yeah,
receive.
it happened last week, funny enough, and Gary turned round to it, and it was just like it was one of them things where he turns around and goes, "Oh yeah, yeah, don't worry, don't worry, sit yourself down and everything. You've only missed like the fucking biggest hits or something."
Oh, that's fantastic.
He's funny. He is funny.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Well, on to China greatness anyway. Yeah, it's like a
Yes,
best of with a difference. Now, I'm always quite skeptical about albums where they're
me too.
reimagined and remixed versions and what
I
have you.
know.
But China
And
greatness actually did the unthinkable, and I actually think it sounds even better than these already great songs did. So, I mean,
but I actually know it does. I mean,
yeah,
this was if you envisage something, you know, this the way I suppose we would want them to sound at the beginning. But it, it is I do get what you're saying. I mean, please trust me. I was thinking, and Gary was thinking the same. Is it just going to be another greatest hits album? Is it a compilation and all that? So we had to put a twist on it that um, just to make it sound different and make it a bit special and put songs on that I think, that were unexpected really, that people
yeah.
don't have a chance to hear.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, some of it even sounds a bit like an Ennio Morricone soundtrack to me in places, like what you
Yeah,
said.
in certainly on disc two, where we kind of we did actually envisage a kind of like cinematic and all that. So that was
Yeah,
a good thing to do. And the guy who we got to do it is, I mean, he's just simply exceptional. He's like a genius. His name's
yeah,
Mark Fiddy, and he's the one who mixed and recorded for us.
yeah,
And he's got 3 Grammys,
yeah, yeah.
for Coldplay, and he's just an astonishing person to work with, really. So the talent that we used on it was, there was nothing spared, really. I think that we wanted to do it properly.
Yeah, sure. So you never actually felt like they needed a makeover of the songs. Just you felt like you wanted to do something, give something that.
It was freshen them up and make them a little bit different. And you know, I did. If you remember, just a couple of years ago, I think Midge did it. I think the Bunnymen did it. There was a lot of people doing kind of like orchestrated versions of the songs and all that. And we thought we still want the songs to be the songs, but
Yeah,
how do you do that with add the orchestration and not take too much from away from the essence of what it was.
yeah.
And I think the compromise worked really well. Actually, I am very proud of it. I think it's a great sounding record.
Understandably so. It's fantastic. I've been playing it a lot in my car. So yeah,
Thank you.
thanks for that. And of course, some of those songs you've been playing for over 40 years now as well, live. So
Yeah,
obviously, well, does it feel like a lifetime ago that you had your first hit record? I mean, Christian was your first hit, wasn't it? So does
it
that
was.
feel like a lifetime ago to you, or does it feel like just last week?
Uh, oh, I think you know what I think the doing things live and the recorded version are very, very different. It certainly was a lifetime ago for the recorded version and all the TV and press and hype and everything that went with it, and when it was a hit.
Yeah,
But when we play it live, it sounds a little bit hypocritical, this, but it still sounds fresh. It sounds like it doesn't sound dated. to
No,
me.
you're right.
It,
Absolutely.
it,
And I
it
think it's
sounds like it's, yeah.
I think it's because it's quite an unusual song, really. I mean, I think I mean, when you had that hit, most of the stuff that was in the charts was like up-tempo pop songs and stuff like that.
Absolutely, it went completely against the grain. You know, you'd have like your Spandos with "Don't Need This Pressure On," and you'd have Duran Duran, and everything was going like funk mad. You
Yeah.
know, and Heaven 17 with a Fastest Groove thing and everything. And then we come out with like a big ballads, and everyone was like, "What the fuck?" You know, it was very very. It went against the grain. And for it to work was essential for us. And to be perfectly honest, I think if Christian wasn't a hit, I wouldn't be speaking to you here today.
Wow.
I think we would have got dropped by the label.
Because it was your fourth single from that
It
album,
was the
wasn't
fourth
it? So,
single, and although African and White and everything did good, and we could have been, probably remained an indie band, so to speak. But we needed to have that hit, and it took 4 songs. You're quite right, off that first album, to break the charts and that.
yeah.
And I think if it hadn't, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
We wouldn't have got to the second album, second, third, fourth, fifth. Who knows?
Did its success come as a surprise to you? Because obviously it was the fourth single, so maybe you thought the ones before it were going to do better than. Well, they did. They did all right, didn't they? But I mean, if I was an A&R person, I wouldn't. I mean, I love Christian, but I probably would have listened to the album and thought, well, that's probably not a single. I was completely wrong, obviously now, because I always loved the single anyway. But to me, it didn't sound
Yeah,
like the single.
yeah. Well, I think that's what they thought as well. I mean, that's why there was 3 singles out before it.
Yes.
But I think it's a funny thing, music, isn't it? Where
Yeah.
there seems to be trends in music, either it's dance music or it's guitar music, it's indie music or hip hop or whatever. It seems to go in trends and all that. And I think it's very easy to get caught in that trap and just follow everything that's going on around you,
Yeah.
as opposed to like being different and going against the grain. Do you know what? If the truth be known, it was at Virgin Records. It was the telly sales girls, right? It wasn't the A&R. It wasn't us. It wasn't the director of the company or anything that picked Christian. It was the telly sales girls.
Oh wow.
They turned around, they went, and they were like, "Oh, what a beautiful song! What a beautiful ballad!" And we were going, "Really?" And they were the ones. They were the ones that said, "Oh yeah, this has got to be released." And you know what? They were right. They were absolutely right.
But you're forever in their debt.
I am indeed.
And then you've gone on to work with some incredible people over the years, not least the late great Walter Becker, who I believe he produced Flaunt the Imperfection, didn't he?
He did 2 albums with us actually. He did Flaunt and he did Diary. I mean,
he did that one as well, did he? Right, okay. I didn't realize he was on
yeah,
that.
the closest thing to genius I think I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you about him because obviously you've worked with a lot of big name producers, I guess. Some with
Well, not just producers. I mean, we've toured with
musicians.
Bowie, with Sting. We've met everyone, but I kid you not when I don't say this lightly. Walter was on a different level. He was on a different plane.
What do you think he brought to it? I mean, how were his methods different?
Well, obviously, precision. His musicality was. He heard within the songs. Basically, like we were talking about before when we said about the soundscape kind of thing about the China greatness and that.
Yeah,
I think he heard that within the songs for Flaunt. So when we brought these songs, we brought to him almost like little naive demos of the songs. Oh yeah, Walter. Then this one's called King of the Catholic Stars, and it goes like this. Or this one's Black Man Rain. It goes dum 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 dum, and he heard much more musicality within it. So he would help arrange the horns, he would help arrange the harmony, and his attention to detail in the recording was just second to none. I mean, literally, if you put a Steely Dan album on today, it sounds as fresh as it sounds like it could have been recorded yesterday.
Yeah, classy band. Classy band. I
mean, he had that kind of timelessness to his work. It wasn't something that, and as great as what you heard them albums at the time, like Dare or Penthouse and Pavements or whatever, if you put them on now, because of the synthesis in it, they sound dated. The songs are great. Don't get me wrong, but they sound dated because of technology and all that kind of stuff. With working with Walter, we basically, I think his philosophy was, and ours as well, was the song is king, right? So whatever the song needs, that's what you should do. So if it needs horns, or if it needs strings, or if it needs real piano or whatever, we're not going after a fad or a fashion here. We're making the song sound timeless, I suppose.
Right. Yeah. And they do, because it still holds up. Well, everything still holds up very well today that you recorded back then. I think I'd have been starstruck. I think I'd have been standing there if I was in the band playing the instrument. I'd just be standing there thinking, it's Walter Becker.
I know. I think Gary wasn't such a big Steely Dan fan, but I was certainly a bit starstruck. It was kind of me that pushed it in that direction to go with him.
Yeah, sure. And then, like I say, working with Fire and Steel, going back to that one, was quite a groundbreaking album, I would say, at the time. It was commercial while still maintaining an artistic bent. That sounds really pretentious, doesn't it? But you know what I mean. It still sounds artistic, but I think it stands up better than most 80s albums, personally. So, what would you put the longevity to that down to?
Well, I always put longevity down first and foremost to good songwriting. I mean, that is the basic ingredients. But then it's like they're like Formula One cars, aren't they? It's like a gearbox. There has to be lots of different little cogs that make it correct. It can't just, do you know what I mean? And them little cogs, are everything from first and foremost in the embryo, like really at the embryo, writing good songs, good memorable melodies, tunes, and that. But then good production.
Yeah,
good, everything else that comes with it. They're the other gears in the gearbox. And on Fire and Steel, we used a great guy. We used a guy called Mike Howlett, and this guy, if you think about it realistically, he's responsible for a lot of the sounds of the 80s. He worked with everyone from Flock of Beagles, Tears for Fears, OMT, Martha and the Muffins.
Wow.
He created an 80s sound, and I think it was a good working combination. So with his guidance and and direction in that way, and with the songs that we had, I think it was I think the chemistry worked.
I'm going to have to look up Mike Howlett. I mean, obviously I know of Mike Howlett and everything, but he's not talked about it in the same.
He did some great stuff. Do you know he was a member of Gong? Do you remember Gong?
Oh, of course, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I do.
What was it, Camembert Electric or something like that? Well, he was like in Gong in the 60s and 70s.
Right.
So he came through that. So he had a very musical background. He wasn't like, right, okay. Nowadays, I do a lot of stuff at the Paul McCartney Institute, LIPA in Liverpool.
Yeah.
For the students and that there. And nowadays, I think most of the people that would work there, or like producers and things working with kids and all that kind of stuff, they come from a kind of engineering background. The more sound engineers and programmers, and it was very, very different back then, because the producers that I'm with Walter, the producers that we tended to work with, were not from an engineering background; they were from a musical background.
They could
So they
feel it
understood.
more, probably, I would think.
So they
Yeah.
understood melody, they understood songs, they understood emotion, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I think that in them days you would have a producer and an engineer, and the engineer's job was to twiddle the knobs and mix the desk, and the producer's job was to be creative,
Right.
and and put the kind of that the musicality into it. Nowadays it's very, very different. It's more about the engineering and programming and that kind of stuff.
I think that, yeah, I think that shows if you ever listen to the charts now, it's like a
Yeah,
lot.
you know what? I honestly, I'm not being an old granddad fuddy duddy here, but I am bored of it.
The
It's
charts, yeah,
like,
certainly. There's still some
yeah,
great stuff
just
around, but it doesn't
dance.
get in the charts. That's the thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's always going to be a great song, though, isn't it? There's always
Yeah,
going to be one that breaks through. But if you listen to dance music now, you can be
yeah,
listening to fucking anyone.
yeah.
You know,
I agree.
it could be anyone.
But I'm over
That's
50 as well, so
Yeah, but it has no kind of uniqueness, no individual. If you put a David Bowie record on, it's David Bowie,
yeah,
whether
of
it be a
course.
ballad, whether he does Heroes, or whether he does Let's Dance, it's Bowie.
Yeah,
If you put a Talking Heads album on, it's David Byrne.
yeah.
Nowadays, it's getting harder and harder to define who the fuck is who, because it's so similar.
I agree. I agree entirely. And like I say, most of my favorite albums of the last few years have been ones that didn't get in the charts,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
certainly never had any singles. Maybe more of the albums get higher in the charts by decent artists, but the
yeah,
singles chart, it's just so forgettable. Mostly, I would say.
yeah. Disposable. You're quite right.
Yeah, I don't think there's anyone that's likely to be like a big famous star. Well, obviously there are some that are big famous stars these days, but I don't think there'll be any like back in the day. There's like, I think you had probably the best level of fame really, because you got like you've got you had several hits. You had three that I would say everybody knows of your singles. I'd say that you were well respected critically. You probably get people coming up to you in the street every now and again to have a chat and everything, but it was like tolerable. I mean, did you ever want to get to a stage where you were like Oasis level of fame or anything like that, or do you think
No,
you're better off
no,
with?
no, no, no,
I was
no.
going to say, be a nightmare, wouldn't
God,
it?
we, I think we probably frustrated the record company because, I mean, I'll tell you the good answer to that question. It took us our third album before we put our faces on the cover.
Oh, really? Yeah,
Really,
yeah,
really look at Difficult Shapes, Working with Fire Steel, Flaunting Perfection. Uh, we, 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 we were everything but, promoting ourselves. We probably so frustrated the record company because, yeah, we were kind of reluctant pop stars, I suppose.
yeah. But you enjoyed that while you were in the limelight. I mean, as in the big limelight when you were having your big hits. Like Wishful Thinking was your biggest, wasn't it?
It was the biggest worldwide, yeah.
Yeah,
But I mean, that was off Fire and Steel, but Flaunting and Perfection was actually the biggest album with
right.
Black Man Ray and King of the Catholic Style. That
Yeah,
was
of course.
that was massive all around the world.
Which is
That
probably
did
King of the
really well.
Catholic style. Probably King of the Catholic style that I hear the most on radio nowadays. So that
Yeah.
probably ties in with that. But what always surprised me was that you released on the back of Wishful Thinking being a top 10 hit, you released Hannah Hannah, and that didn't even reach the top 40. So I was a bit taken aback with that.
You have no idea. We were like hit miss, hit miss, hit miss, and we wishful thinking, right? It was like, I'm Christian. We're like nice songs, nice
Yeah.
ballady kind of thing, and we didn't want to be a nice group.
Oh, okay. Got you. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of
We
difference.
were touring with people like Simple Minds, and we were into like
Yeah.
Talking Heads, and we wanted, Hannah's should be the next single. We want to be like, upbeat tempo pop, and for some reason the public never seen as that.
Right.
It was always, pop for the big beautiful ballads that we could write as well. But the more up tempo ones were hard to break. They were really hard to break.
Did you, I mean, when they didn't hit, did you like go home and beat yourself up over it, or was it like, oh well, sod it, move on to the next one?
I thought that I began to think that we were very bad judges of how music was. Do you know what I mean? I mean, if we suggested something, it generally didn't work. It'd be like I said about the telesales girls or something like that. That would choose the ballads and all that, and we'd go, really? So I think that we weren't great judges at judging the marketplace. Really, I think that we always. Let me tell you the story, right? The Flaunty Imperfection album, right? We thought Black Man Ray and King of the Catholic Style was too poppy, right? We weren't even going to put them on the album.
Oh, really?
We were going to leave them off the fucking album. And we went, and the record company turned around to us and said, basically, they turned around and said, you know what? You fuck off. Said, not only are they going on the album, they're your first 2 singles off the album. So that's how bad as judge we were about what singles were.
Oh yeah, you can laugh about that now, but
yeah, it's funny.
So going back to the to China Greatness, there's nothing beyond What Price Paradise on the new set. So was anything from, say, Diary of a Hollow Horse ever considered? I mean, I'd be quite interested to hear Sadie Square, for example.
Everything was considered.
Yeah. Okay.
God, do you know what? You just asked the question like, when we do a gig, we can go on stage for about 2 hours or more.
Yeah.
And when you come off, someone will always say to you, "Why didn't you play that?"
Oh God, I didn't mean it like that.
And you basically done exactly the same thing, but in a recorded
Got my own back for Gary taking the piss out of me.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, why? So you could go on you could literally, I don't know, maybe there'll be greatness too. I don't know.
Yeah, that'll be good. I'll be interested to hear it anyway.
And
what would you pick from those later? From those later albums, what do you think you'd pick? What would be your standout?
From the later albums?
From the later albums, yeah.
I do love, I don't know, did you get Autumn in the Neighborhood, the album? Did you get that?
No, I haven't got that one, actually, but I'll have a listen to it.
You have got to listen to the last album he did, Autumn in the Neighborhood. I think some of the songs on that are beyond exceptional.
Okay.
And again, so there'd be something from that. From Diary, what would I say? Diary was quite a cool album. Song wise, it was just the wrong time and place.
Yeah.
Britain were going dance music, rave crazy, and we're there trying to sound like the fucking Beach Boys or something. Do you know what I mean? It was the wrong place and time.
Do you know what? Yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say, but now people and that looking back on it consider it like a classic album now. But at the time, it just got lost in the wash of.
It was a very dancey time, wasn't it? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Honestly,
well, actually, looking back at some of those old rave tunes actually stood up pretty well. I think some of those old ones.
Some of them, the more classic ones, Black Box and that. You can name a few of them, but again, it's like. It kind of takes a lot of the dance stuff kind of took the human elements out of it for me. Everything was programmed, everything was there was no real playing, and it just basically a bit lifeless. I think some of it.
Sure, yeah. So one more question.
But I agree. But I do agree there is some classic dance.
Massive Attack and things like that. I mean,
yeah, Massive Attack and all that, and Art of Noise. And
exactly.
That kind of stuff,
Yeah. So I've got one more question because I've got the school run in a minute. So
me too.
Fair enough. Yeah. So if you could pick one highlight from your career, what would your absolute highlight be from your career?
Walter Becker, probably. Yeah, working with Walter.
Yeah.
As I said here at the beginning, probably the closest thing to genius that I've ever come across in my life. And that's working with Bowie, that's working with Sting, that's with Santana. Walter was on a different level, exceptional,
Yeah.
exceptional, quite frightening at times. When you go behind that glass window and you had to sing or go and play,
Yeah.
it was almost intimidating.
Really?
Yeah, and you've got to remember, this was the first time we worked with him was our third album. We'd already had like million-selling songs, and we still felt like ants in his company. You know what I mean?
I do, yes. Absolutely.
It's bizarre.
It's fantastic.
It's bizarre, but yeah, absolutely. The highlight, I'd say, would be working with someone that was so incredibly talented as he was.
Yeah. And actually, since you mentioned Sting, I'm quite intrigued to hear about it, because obviously he gets quite a bad rap from a lot of people, doesn't he? What was he like to work with?
Do you know what?
Yeah.
He was absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
I had these reservations before as well, and oh God, he's a fucking school teacher. He's like, he was everything, but he was a lovely person. He used to come out and hang out in our changing room with us, and we were using an oboe player at the time called Steve Levy. That does the oboe lines and that on Wishful Thinking and that.
Yeah.
And Sting, when we worked with the Police, it was the Synchronicity tour. So he had that song and all that. I think there's a little black spot on the sun today.
Pain,
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I think maybe somewhere within that song or one of the others, there was oboe, and he kind of loved that instrument, but he couldn't play it. They obviously made it work in the studio.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a master of it. Let's put it that way. So he would come down to our changing room and ask our oboe player to give him bloody lessons on how to play the oboe. And
Wow. That's
I
amazing.
thought that was really cool. I thought that's great. This at that time, you've got to remember, they were the biggest bands in the world.
Yeah, definitely.
Synchronicity was huge. So yeah, I think he was absolutely adorable. I think he was a lovely guy.
That's lovely.
And Carlos Santana and Bowie. You know what I find? The more famous they are, the kind of easier to get on with, because they
totally
have no
agree. I've been interviewing people for 25 years, and I agree with you totally.
Yeah, it's like, it's all the ones on the bottom rung who are scratching the way up that can be,
yeah, I totally agree.
Vindictive, but but once they got to the top, they got on to proof. They just go, yeah, whatever you fucking want, it's great. This,
yeah,
and it's just, and I kind of like that. I like that the people that we have worked with, the more famous people, they've been absolutely wonderful.
Fantastic. Yeah, and I totally agree, because I remember one of my first interviews when I started doing this in the early noughties was, I mean, you'll know him, I'm sure, Ian McCulloch was, and a few people said to me, "Oh, he can be really awkward."
Oh, he's difficult.
He was the loveliest bloke I spoke to at the time.
I know. It's like, but he did. Ian is an interesting bunch of people, isn't he? You know what I mean? It depends which day you get him on.
Yeah, I guess I got him on a good day.
Yeah,
but I can't believe he tried to do the old Ken Dodd's dad. Well, what was it? I can't remember whatever that joke was about Ken Dodd's dad, or whatever his name. Do you even know that? I can't even remember.
No,
oh no, that was it. It was he said to me, "I see Ken Dodd died." Then that was before he died, and he was expecting me. Did he? And then he was going to go, "No, Doddy."
Oh, Doddy. Yeah, right, okay.
I'm not going to fall for that one.
Did he know Doddy? Yeah.
I can't believe you tried to do that on me. But
oh God.
I interviewed Will as well at a
lovely man.
Yeah,
Lovely man, Will.
he was lovely, but I mean, I know that he supposedly could be a bit prickly as well at times.
Well,
But
I disagree. I think he's just shy.
yeah,
He's not. He's not as outgoing as Ian and that. He's not like as in your face. He's he's kind of like a reluctant pop star. He doesn't want any of the trimmings. He's just. I find him absolutely lovely, Will.
oh, he was lovely. He was lovely. I do feel like he tried to test me at one point though, because I'd got all my notes out. I used to write down all my notes and everything sitting next to me, and Will accidentally knocked them all over the floor. I don't know whether he was trying to fluster me or just test me,
Yeah.
But I held it together and talked to him about what his favourite Bunnymen album was, and he said Heaven Up Here, and I said to him, is that because it's got Pete's stamp all over it? And I think from that point he thought, he's a fan, and he carried on happily talking to me. So I don't know. Yeah, it seemed like
I found him adorable. I think he's just a genuine, real person.
And he's well into his music, isn't he, as well, for Northern Soul.
Oh God, yeah, he's very knowledgeable on his music.
Yeah,
I think we all. I think, do you know what? If you look back at all of us from that kind of genre and all that kind of stuff, or probably the more, I won't say famous, the more popular people that you interview and everything.
Yeah,
you will find out that we all we know quite a bit. We know our fucking history. You know,
well, you were there.
Know well, even before, we kind of loved with a passion and research. I'll tell you music from the 40s, 50s, 60s. It wasn't there then.
Me too. My wife says I'm anal with things like that, but I just music's always been my thing. So it's like
I get it. And me too. And it's funny, isn't it? Because when you get in that situation, you delve into everything, don't you? It's not just about the song or the band, it's who produced it, who did the artwork, who did,
you know what? Funny enough, I went on Popmaster a couple of times, and Ken Bruce's Popmaster. I won easily on both. But after that, during lockdown, I got to know some people that were Popmaster Champion of Champions things. So I did like the Zoom quizzes with them, like every now and again. They're still good now and everything, but like I say, I was up against these Popmaster Champion of Champions, and I did beat them a couple of times, which I was really pleased about. But I just couldn't believe the level of their knowledge and everything. It was like,
they're like train spotters. Some of them.
It was like, I mean, what was the B side of a number 38 hit from 1973 or something?
Oh, you're kidding me!
Didn't know that, and I'm like, how do you know?
You are kidding me. That is a bit anal.
Yeah, I'm not that bad. But I do like to let my pub quiz team know that I do a music quiz once a month, and I do like to let them know that they've only ever won it when I've been there.
Good. I love that. I love doing a pub quiz every now and again.
I run two. Well, they're not music quizzes that I run, but I do run 2 general knowledge quizzes here in Leicester. So I love doing that. I must admit, it is a fun night out.
You should do like an online one. I might join in one day.
Oh, I'll do that. Yeah, okay. If you're interested, I'll try and do that.
I'm interested. And keep it. You can do whatever you want. General knowledge, anything.
Oh, okay. I'll bear that in mind. Then I'll get back in touch with Izzy and let her know. That'd be
okay. All right, you're on. Yeah. All right. Well, listen, lovely speaking to you. And
likewise, thank you very much for your time. Yeah.
All right then.
And good luck with the album.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.